a late mid-fall update. Well, Daniel has stopped being AWOL. I've had a couple discussions, opportunities to speak with Daniel at great length, several hours. This was very good for me. We caught up on a lot of things. And he sprang, if you will, a surprise on me that to say, I couldn't even think this up. And as those that have followed me and those that have known me, listened to my discussions for the past, really decades now. I've had discussions with various and sundry individuals for 25 years at least, maybe even 30 or more, in earnest for the last 20. And so I talk about, more bad news, and what kind of doom and gloom do you have now? I could not have thought this up. And just one little thing, it changes everything. Everything changes. Everything is different because of this. So I'll get right into it. In Revelation 20, I made myself a cheat sheet here. In Revelation chapter 20, the topic there is the Satan, Abaddon reality, being chained up and bound for 1,000 years. Daniel brought to my attention that this is the only scripture. There are no other scriptures that talk about this. And Daniel, with his knowing gift, the spirit of the holy gods, that's the quote from the book of Daniel 4 times there, the spirit of the holy gods, plural, the henotheism. I'll take a little segue and spring that on you. Persons arguing, is it monotheism or is it polytheism? 3 in 1, the Trinity. There's more gods than just those 3. About 15 altogether when you count the Eternals, the Arca power beings, the L's, the Arca only beings, those are the 4 archangels, and the 4 seraphs. There's 15 gods, if you will. So henotheism, H-E-N-O, theism, all one word. The Zoroastrians, they knew that it's one God and yet plural gods at the same time. Not monotheism or polytheism, but rather both monotheism and polytheism together, which is henotheism. Anyway, so getting back onto the topic here, the spirit of the holy gods, plural, is in Daniel. And so when he looks at the scriptures, the spirit of the L's, etc., is in him and shows him and gives him the knowing and says, we didn't say that. That's not true. That's a lie. And or we said this. And so he goes to the scriptures and is like, nope, they didn't say this, or no, this is what they really said. And so the big shocker, the big surprise that, this is how you know it's spiritual, because it's certainly not something that really anybody could have thought up. It only comes from the gods, because they're the ones that have declared everything out of eternity. And that is that the shocker is not really a shocker, really, because sometimes as you read the book of Revelation and you hear these papist Jesuit doctrines, they just don't sound quite right. It seems to those that are fleshly, it sounds great, it's wonderful, a rapture, and we don't have to endure anything, and this, that, and the other. And none of that is true. Well, so also this so-called millennial reign for 1,000 years. That word there is 6 times translated 1,000 years, and the translation is incorrect. It's supposed to be translated in the plural. In the plural, not the singular, the plural. And much like, and this is what the papists and the Jesuits, those that destroy knowledge and those that teach lies, they're going to tell you about something that push it off into the future when in fact it's present tense. The same thing with the so-called single future tense, single Antichrist doctrine, which is not true. It's been a plural present tense Antichrist doctrine for the last 2,000 years. Well, so also Revelation chapter 20. The Satan reality was bound by Michael at the time, the Archangel Michael, the Archangel Abaddon, the Satan reality was bound. So when you see there where it says, I saw a powerful angel come and bind Satan, this happened 2,000 years ago. This happened at the time of the death of Mashiach, the time of Yashuah HaMashiach of Nazareth. When he died, this is when began the 2,000-year reign. Not 1,000 future tense reign, a 2,000 actually past tense. The 2,000 years has come and gone as far as this reign. And the scripture that goes in parallel with it is, I looked it up here, one that I thought says, how is it that he first ascended, that he first descended, took captivity captive, and gave gifts unto men? That taking captivity captive found in Ephesians 4:8. There's a parallel reference. I'm sure there are others probably. But when Yeshua died, his death immediately gave him the ability to do, not in the future, but then, right then. And so Ephesians 4:8, the death of Mashiach and the resurrection, and now reigning, set down at the right hand of the Father, that the translation of Revelation chapter 20 has been going on for the last 2,000 years. It is not future tense. Revelation chapter 20 is actually past tense. Part of it is past tense. It's not 1,000 future years, it's 2,000 past tense years. And they've come to pass. And so then the citation there that at the end of the 2,000 years that Satan is loosed, yes, that has also taken place. So Satan bound and then loosed. He was loosed, Daniel estimates, roughly in the year 2001. 2001. So it's not future tense. Satan goes forth again. He knows he hath but a little time, a short season. We are now in that short season. And I've somewhere in the past recordings, I had said the short season is 20 years. No, it's approximately 37, 38, 40, 41 years, somewhere in there. Daniel estimates that Satan was loosed out of prison after 2,000 years in the year 2001. And so now, present tense, Satan is going around the earth deceiving the nations. So what does this all mean? Well, bad news. Even worse bad news than even I. Well, in a way, I kind of knew, because the doctrine of a single future 1,000-year millennial reign just didn't quite, in the back of my mind, I said, there's just something, it just doesn't seem quite right because of all the destruction and everything that the elves, the gods, have been bringing upon the earth up before then. Why is it all of a sudden they just stopped and everything's all now hunky-dory? No, that's not what they're going to do. Just as it says in the scriptures, they are going to completely destroy this place. There won't be another 1,000 years after that. And so Daniel has coined a phrase, and I'm going to repeat it. Don't plant a tree. Don't plant a tree, there isn't enough time left. We have approximately 16 years left. Approximately 16 years. That's it. That's all we've got left. And when you think about the plagues and the destructions of Delta Capricorni, when they come upon the earth, the big seven, it says how the life in the ocean dies. A third of everything in life that has life in the ocean dies. Well, that's 1/3 of all the plankton. Have you pondered the reduced oxygen output? Have you thought that all the way through, the destruction? Because I thought it all the way through. The destruction taking place in the book of Revelation, I said, that's not really survivable long term. So the purpose of the heavenly city, the shuttlecraft to come back, it's a lifeboat to evacuate the few survivors that will be left from a dying planet. That's the purpose of the heavenly city. It was here for 66 million years, sitting on the North Pole. By the way, I double-checked my math. I was off by half. It's not 3,000 miles square. It's 1,500 miles square, 12,000 furlongs. Still pretty big. Pretty big. It sat there for 66 million years with Shaddai and I guess El Elyon in it. A woman, Daniel tells me. I don't know if it was Elyon or Olam. Probably was Elyon. Anyway, there was more than one individual. It was mainly Shaddai, but there were other gods there too. It wasn't just Shaddai. And then Shaddai blasted off 12,800 years ago as a part of the dispute over the giving, these overly giving gods. It's interesting, Olam is this stingy god, doesn't want to give, doesn't want to share. Shaddai, Ehim, Elyon, et al. Are all givers and sharers, and I even wrote this out. I have a huge storyline I've written out, and in it I describe Shaddai, Ehim, Elyon, et al. As overly sharing, overly giving, to a point where it even caused problems. So, what this means then is that the Gog-Magog war. Daniel brought that to my attention, so I hurried up and looked that up in the scriptures. The Ezekiel 38-39 Gog-Magog war, that's going to happen within the next 8 to 9 years because they spend 7 years burying the bodies and 7 years melting down, burning the weapons. So there's 7 years after the Gog-Magog war. So the Gog-Magog war happens within the next 8 to 9 years. As well as I pointed out to Daniel, Revelation 15:2. I had discussed this with him before. I said, Daniel, what about this sea of glass? And Daniel said, oh yeah, that's the desolate side of the earth when the relativistic jet of Delta Capricorni completely devastates and wipes out, completely obliterates half of the earth. It becomes nothing but liquid nuclear soup. Half of the earth just becomes completely desolate like the moon, not even air on that side of the planet. And it pushes up the rim of an impact crater 200, 300, 400 miles high, which protects the other side of the earth. Daniel posited that the sea of glass of Revelation 15:2 was is afterward. But now that he looked at Revelation chapter 20, and then I brought it to his attention, I said, look, Revelation 15, it clearly says that, then the 7 angels prepare to sound. Revelation 15:2, the sea of glass, is before any of the Delta Capricorni events. So what does that mean? Well, that means one of potentially 3 things. And, you spiritual folk or individuals that can think of something more than me, bring it to my attention. But here's the 3 I can think of. Either a Tsar's bomb, a 75 megaton nuclear weapon detonated. Yeah, that would nice, or multiple nuclear detonations. There was the possibility of, yes, actually, maybe some, because I kind of said, well, there's only one place in the book of Revelation where you find nuclear weapons, man-made energy nuclear weapons, which are really rather limited compared to, they're nothing compared to the weapons, the arc of power weapons of the gods. But anyway, So Revelation 15:2, there is a possibility of nuclear weapons. It's someplace here on the earth somewhere, per my guess, North America, and I can ask the gods more, hey, the Revelation 15:2, where's that going to be? And as time goes by, seeing as we have 16 years left, I suppose they will probably come and tell me when the Sea of Glass is going to happen. But that's the first possibility, man-made nuclear weapons. There's another possibility, Betelgeuse. Yeah, that's right, Betelgeuse. When Betelgeuse blows up, there's the possibility of damage from Betelgeuse doing something to the earth. And I specifically asked Daniel, I said, how long, if by chance that the poles, the way that Betelgeuse would have to flip on its semi-major axis, it has to stop rotating, which will then cause it to go nova, hypernova, supernova, hypernova, which will then also rotate that pole 90 degrees and potentially point one of its poles toward the earth. Because right now its poles are not pointed at the earth. And that's where the gamma ray burst and relativistic jet from stars comes out, is from their poles. And of course Betelgeuse's poles are not pointed at us. But for it to die and blow up, one of the big possibilities is that it flips on its semi-major axis, and that momentarily stops its rotational outpressuring. So it'll do two things. It'll move its swing a pole past the earth potentially, and also cause it to go nova, because it has to stop rotating, and rotation is a part of the outpressuring that keeps stars from blowing up. And of course, Betelgeuse being so dangerously close to the end of its life, for it to stop rotating would almost assuredly cause it to go nova. The third possibility I've also pondered of a sea of glass would be another comet meteor type impact. Well, the gods love doing that kind of thing, so there's that in there. So the sea of glass, Revelation 15:20, is also within the next 16 years. And so there's that. And except those days be shortened. Matthew 24, Matthew verse 22, and also a potential parallel of Mark 13 verse 20. But I saw some stuff earlier on in Mark. It was pretty sure it was all flee to the mountains and that stuff. That was all 70 AD. That all came to pass almost 2,000 years ago. When you see the abomination standing in the holy place, that was 66, 68 AD. The non-members of the priesthood, completely complete seculars, completely outside of Israel altogether, were brought into the priesthood. That was the abomination standing in the holy place. Don't pay attention to Jesuit papist doctrine that says, oh yeah, it's this, that, or the other. No. They're lying to you. Daniel told me what the desolation, this thing, the abomination that makes desolate, that happened 66, 68 AD. There were these 64, they were total foreigners to the priesthood, were brought into the temple, and that was the abomination that makes desolate. And then so there's that little segue. Let's see here. Did I get everything? Oh, the Gog Magog, Ezekiel 39:17. Oh, a parallel. The birds, come to the supper. It's two of these types of things, not just one, two. One of them is come to the supper of the great God. That's in the book of Revelation. That's the gamma ray burst of Delta Capricorni that wipes out half the planet and kills everything and completely sterilizes it so the corpses don't rot. And all the birds of heaven go over to that side of the earth and are gorging themselves on the corpses. But we see, and I'm pondering if maybe Betelgeuse is in this, because the 7 years of burning the weapons, potentially melting down the tanks and all that, everything, burning the burnable things that are combustible, and then melting down all the steel and everything. The 7 years of that is Ezekiel 39:9. But the birds come to another supper of the great God. That's Ezekiel 39:17. The birds get to come and eat the bodies of Gog, Magog on the mountains of Israel. So there's that. Surprise that it's just going to get worse and worse and worse and worse. It is not going to get better. Things are not going to get better. Things are only going to get worse. And as it says there in Matthew 24, with a parallel in Mark 13, except those days be shortened, there would be nobody left alive, nobody saved alive. That's how bad this thing is. And so that's when I read that scripture, I said, how can it get that bad? Well, when you look at the nature of the plagues, and that there is no 1,000-year millennial reign, that's because the gods are just coming to purge this place and completely wipe this place out. And then the final thing that I brought to Daniel's attention, I said, you realize when that shuttlecraft sits down on the North Pole where it was before, it's going to crush down the rim of the impact crater. And when it does, when it leaves, it will allow all the air that was on the surviving side of the planet to rush over onto the completely vacuum side of the planet. So it's going to cut the amount of available air in half, the amount of atmosphere that will have already been reduced and damaged because of the relativistic jet from Delta Capricorni. And I'm suspecting that we're probably going to get damaged and whacked by the relativistic jet of Betelgeuse too. I think that's what happens on the mountains of Israel. I think Betelgeuse does that, but that's just my personal guess. Just my guess. I don't know. The elves have not spoken to me specifically about that, but I can ask them. But I like Daniel's mantra. Don't plant a tree. Don't plant a tree. There's only 16 years left. So Revelation 20 has more or less, most of it, come to pass. The 2,000 years of the millennial reign of Mashiach is past tense, not future tense, not a future. And something else Daniel brought to my attention. Look at the global, the devil worshipers, the Satanists. What are they doing? They are going all out to get off of this rock. And Daniel pointed out the Starship, the Elon Musk stuff, and he said they're doing it. He said it's going to take 20 rockets worth of fuel, bigger than the Saturn V rocket, just to get 2 men to the moon and the back, right? He had a name, something like ELS. It's got 3 letters in it. And they've posted it. They've posted all the information, the documentation. Daniel was telling me about it. I tried to record it and failed. But Daniel pointed out to me that they know destruction and death. See, these death merchants, they have the original copies of the scriptures. And they know that 16 years from now, that's it. Time's up. This is the gods doing the clenched fist to them and saying, time's up. You're dead. And they know it. And Daniel was telling me, he says, well, they figure if they can just get to the moon, that they'll somehow be safe from what's coming. And so they want to try and at least go orbit the moon by 2025 or 2026 or 2027. But isn't it interesting? 20 rockets worth of fuel that it's going to take to fuel up the rocket, to boost the fuel in orbit, because the rocket it's going to take to just go fly around the moon has to be boosted up into orbit empty, and then more rockets have to be sent up to fuel it. And so Daniel told me, he said it's going to take 20 rockets altogether, bigger than the Saturn V, just to go around the moon and back. And with Daniel and I also discussed they'll fail because they can't get above the Earth's atmosphere. You say, well, they're up in orbit. They're still in the atmosphere. They're still in the low atmosphere. When they get up really high, they get above the Van Allen radiation belts, and Daniel was telling me, it was a mission about 15 years ago. So much radiation, it just wipes their eyes out. They can't even see. So much radiation. The sparkles in their eyes, they can't even see from so much radiation. So Daniel and I were just kind of guessing, like, yeah, they try. They call it a pop-up. They go up, just to pop up, above the Van Allen radiation belt. Daniel told me they did that like 15 years ago. I don't know which one of the whichever of the space shuttle missions it was, but they called it the pop-up mission. I'll have to go do some research on it, but suffice it to say that I don't think that they do try to send these guys. They're going to try another pop-up mission too. They're going to go up above, and it's probably going to, these guys are going to come back, and if they don't die in orbit, they'll die rapidly or, dramatically shorten life expectancy. They'll live 3 years. These guys will be, 25, 30, 35 years, however old these astronauts are. They've probably already got clones of them ready. I just got my tinfoil hat on because, 20 rockets of fuel just to go around the moon and back. Didn't we go to the moon with one Saturn V? So which one of these statements is true? Didn't we go to the moon, 50 years ago with a single Saturn V? Why is it that now all of a sudden they're telling you it's going to take 20 rockets bigger than the Saturn V just to go orbit the moon? Just go around it and come back. So which one of those statements is true? Obviously, we never went to the moon. Obviously, that's the fact. So if they lied to you then, do you think that they're going to tell you the truth now? No. So anyway. So that's the latest edition of Bad News. Oh, and Daniel also told me, because he and I share types of correlative gift in each other, Daniel told me that the Most High came to him with dreams about the future. Daniel is now very fatalistic, very dim and dark about the future, because he has seen the future now too, and it's not good. It's bad. Now, he didn't tell me, because Daniel doesn't like that kind of thing. That's my department. But Yah willing, I'll get it out of him. And I'll make sure I've got my recorder running, because I want to be able to put some of these recordings up on YouTube here so you can hear the knower. You hear me, the seer, all the time. But wouldn't you like to hear the knower too? Because when you hear knowing, it's so much different than the blathering, the clowns and the fools and the niggas and the retards out here in papacy, fantasy, fake world, fantasy land, retard world, nigga world, dum-dum land. I'm going to speak smooth things to you so you can send me cash. No. When you hear Daniel, and the spirit of the holy gods in him, and knowing, when you listen to these fools out here, these papist fools, you're going to be like, there is just no comparison. There is no comparison with these papist, warmonger, death merchant fools out here, liars, speaking smooth things, catching everyone each other's words, because none of them have anything from any of the gods. They've been completely cut off from the gods, but they do have knowledge and information from the past, and the past told them what the gods are going to do. The gods are going to come and completely obliterate this rock. There won't be any survivors when the gods get done. They're gonna obliterate this rock and send a lifeboat to evacuate the few righteous, and everybody else gets purged. That's what's going to happen. And these warmonger death merchants, they know it. They know it because they have the original copies of the scriptures that say this. And now Daniel, with his knowing, that's why these death merchants changed the scripture like they did. So, oh yeah, it's a future 1,000 years, when they know the same thing. They know the same thing, that they don't have hardly any time left. They've got 16 years left, and they're doing everything they can in desperation to get off this rock. Not gonna happen. So that's the latest bad news. Do you want me to speak smooth, delicious lies so you will feel good and send cash? No, that's not my job. My job is to bring you the word of Yahuah and the Eternals. The I am, the breath, and the word, and Yahuah Al Shaddai, Yahuah Al Elyon, Yahuah Al Ehim. There's 6 gods for you. What about Queen of Heaven? Yeah, she's around. She's around. I got visited by her again. Not alone. Elyon was there too. Yeah, because I saw both their faces. So that's the latest disbursement. That's the latest bad. I couldn't have thought this up. It is only the knowing of the holy gods, because I couldn't think this up. There's no way I could think this up. But now that I know that Revelation chapter 20 has already come to pass and has been fulfilled, and now we are in the very short season, the approximate 40 years, 38 years, where Satan has been loosed out of his prison to deceive the nations of the earth. That is where we are right now. And when you look at the papist warmonger death merchants and the what do the gods call them? The trailer trash. Oh, the so-called global elite. No, the gods look upon them as so much trailer trash. When you see what the trailer trash are doing, watch the trailer trash. What are they doing? They're doing everything they can to try and get off this rock or dig as deep underground as they can to try and survive, because they know destruction and death are coming. It's already here. But so 16 years left. 16 years left, approximately. And now throwing Betelgeuse into the mix, as well as the shuttlecraft taking off. And that's what Daniel told me. He says when that shuttlecraft takes off and the atmosphere rushes on to the other side of the planet where it's all vacuum, he says it will set everything on fire. It will completely burn everything up. That's what it says in the scriptures. That's what it says in scriptures. The shuttlecraft leaves, and the act of the shuttlecraft leaving is what sets everything on fire. And of course, the planet will already be dying anyway from all of the destruction wrought upon it by Delta Capricorni. The planet will not be able to recover. Will not be able to recover. The purpose of the heavenly city, it's a lifeboat, a salvage mission to come and evacuate the righteous from a dying planet. That's why it says, I saw a new heaven and a new earth, because this one's done for. Kaput. 16 years left, approximately. So that's the latest of the bad news. I couldn't have thought this up. Just couldn't have. But now, with the knowing of the holy gods in Daniel, and that there's only one verse, it's just one verse. One verse. One doctrine there, just Revelation 20. It's not anywhere else in the scriptures. There's no anywhere else, there's a 1,000-year reign. No. It's just that one spot where they changed it and put it in when that's not what it's referring to. It's referring to Yashuah ruling and reigning for the last 2,000 years, along with all those that were slain, ruling and reigning with him for the last 2,000 years. It's past tense. Past tense, not future tense. Past tense. 2,000 years. So the only thing that remains is if we actually are able to find the original Hebrew, and that might actually happen. That might actually happen. Somebody somewhere is going to leak the copies of the original scriptures. So then we'll know. And of course, it's not really a big deal, because when you have the spirit of the holy gods, they're going to say, I didn't say that. When you have El Elyon, you have the breath of life, and you have the I am the breath and the word, and Shaddai, Elyon, and Ehim. They're going to say, I didn't say that. That's not what I said. And they correct the error. So I'm thankful that Daniel has corrected the error of the scriptures. And I'm here to tell you that error. That Revelation chapter 20, pretty much past tense. It's already fulfilled. You got 16 years left before this place gets wholesale obliterated. So that's the current bad news, along with Betelgeuse doing something. The Sea of Glass. I was thinking, probably going to be here in North America. Probably the West Coast, but I'm just guessing. So that's the latest of the bad news. And that's all I've got to say for this recording.